for April 17th, 2023. Clerk, will you please take roll?
Chairman Kidd,
Here.
Trustee Bailey. Here. Trustee Schmidt.
Here.
Mr. Nelson.
Here.
Ms. Bain. Here. 5 present, 1 absent.
The clerk has taken roll and we have enough for a quorum. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes from March 20th, 2023. May I please have a motion?
So made. Second.
I have a first by Mr. Schmidt, second by Mr. Nelson. Is there any corrections or additions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. The motion is passed. Next on the agenda is 2623, amendment to the Village Municipal Code, Section 8.201, updating driveway permit process. May I please have a motion?
So made. Second.
I have a first by Ms. Nelson, a first by Ms. Bailey and a second by Ms. Bain. May I please have staff report? I almost called you Ms. Keeling.
Yes. Thank you. So staff is looking to update Chapter 8, starting with Section 8.201, dealing primarily with driveways and the driveway permitting process. So previously, the Public Works Department handled those permits, and maybe Community Development would do a part of it. So with the transition, Community Development Department would be able to do everything from intake, processing, review, and approval in an effort to be more efficient. We are essentially their assigned agent, so if we need to speak with them on anything, we are still able to consult and work with them. So the amendments that we're bringing forward will clarify the new departmental responsibilities. We will be updating the fee to what the permits cost now, which is $20, as well as allow for greater driveway widths only for industrial and commercial zoning districts. Again, in a way to minimize the variance requests that we have been given. So with that, staff is recommending approval, ordinance 2623. And I can take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
I do have one.
Mr. Schmidt?
Where does enforcement lie currently? Previously, it was the superintendent. Is that moving over towards code enforcement, or who owns that part?
I can answer that one.
Thank you.
Public Works will still, in the event of enforcement being needed, will handle those things. A lot of our permitting is done in a way that we advise the resident or the applicant on what the rules are, and that we don't have a big inspection department built into doing a lot of inspections. But in the event that inspections are needed, Public Works would jump in with that.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question for staff also. You said for commercial use. What about with families that have 6 to 8 family members in a large house and they have a normal 2-car driveway, and to get some of the cars off the road, how would we help the citizens out for safety purposes?
So currently, driveways in any residential district can actually be 3 feet away from the property line. So already they are able to expand pretty close to the property line, and we do get some permits that request for that expansion. So that's, I think, a way to allow them to expand and be able to get those cars off the roadway.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for staff? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion is passed. Next on the agenda is Resolution 28R23, authorization to bid Forest Hills Road drainage improvement and the Gateway Pond remediation improvements. May I please have a motion?
So made. Second.
I have a first by Mr. Schmidt, a second by Mr. Nelson. May I please have staff report?
Thank you, Chairman Kidd. This is our normal resolution authorizing bid letting for both of those projects. We're currently finishing up the plans right now. We've submitted the Gateway Pond to DNR and to Corps of Engineers for concurrence with statewide permitting and nationwide permitting. We think both projects will qualify under existing state and nationwide permits. There is no permits needed for the Forest Hills Road project, the storm sewer project. Only the pond improvements, because some of that work's taking place within the floodplain and floodway. So we're finishing up design. We expect to have these things ready to go right around the 1st of May. We'd like to go out for bid letting shortly thereafter. These are both summertime projects. We want to do the work when it's not raining in the dry months, and then do the restoration, around the September area back when we're in spec to plant the grass again. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Hopkins? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. The motion is passed. Next on the agenda is Resolution 29R23, Professional Service Amendment Agreements for Illinois 251 East Service Drive Improvements and 2023 Pavement Maintenance Program. May I please have a motion?
So made.
Second.
I have a first by Ms. Bain, a second by Mr. Nelson. May I please have staff report?
Thank you, Chairman Kidd. We talked about both of these projects, of course, during our budget discussions, and so we're starting the engineering process on both. The East Service Drive project between the old Menards, which is now Spider, kind of the north side of that property, and Marlin Drive, where we widened out those intersections a number of years ago. The pavement condition on the service drive is not very good anymore. We've already resurfaced it once. We have a number of driveways along the service drive that there's about a half dozen of them, that the shoulder on the opposite side of the roadway is widened to accommodate those trucks. In fact, the ordinance or the change in ordinance to allow driveway widths to be wider will help cut down on that sort of thing from happening. What's happening, of course, is the trucks are swinging wide because they just need to get in and out of those driveways, and those driveways are a little bit narrow. So we've been talking to IDOT about a number of projects. This one included IDOT, the service drives are under our jurisdiction. The main line of 251 is under IDOT jurisdiction. Somewhere in between those two is where the jurisdictional boundary lies. IDOT has indicated to us we don't need permits from them unless the ditch slopes on the backside where we widened actually get a little bit steeper. So we think we're going to be able to do this project without any permits from IDOT as well. So the scope of the project is essentially to reclaim the pavement that's out there. It's a green practice, either through hot or cold in place recycling. We'll try to match the vertical profile to the driveways that are there to minimize the driveway work itself. And then we'll widen the areas where the trucks are turning out of those narrow driveways. Essentially, we'll put a concrete base course in and pave over that. And then we'll stripe it off so that, it's really only used for trucks swinging in and out of those businesses. I'll tell you what, I'll stop there and entertain any questions on the service drive project.
I have one. If we do have to obtain a permit from the state of Illinois, will that delay our process?
I don't think so, because it would be a local District 2 permit. We don't have to get anything through Springfield. So we've had a number of discussions with Mike Keene, who's the geometrics engineer down there. And if we needed something, I think they're ready to turn around pretty quickly for us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on then, the 2023 pavement maintenance program. Again, our programs generally consist of placing resurfacing asphalt overlays, and then the accompanying curb and gutter and inlet and sidewalk and ADA ramp work that goes along with that work. We also try to incorporate smaller projects that are maybe a little bit too big for our public works department to do, but yet are too small to bid out on their own. We have really 4 sites this year that we're looking at making some improvements. One is a drainage structure on Shore Drive. Another is some work in the Delta Drive area. We get some periodic spot flooding when it rains hard over there. We think we can remedy that by putting a small storm sewer in. And then we talked about this at budget time. We have 2 bridges that we do inspections on every 4 years. And we have 2 of those that are in need of some work. Specifically, the Men's Drive Bridge has a little bit of scour going on. We need to protect the abutments and the foundations, and then place riprap in the channel, and then clear out underneath the West Service Drive Bridge. There's a little bit of discussion going on with IDOT to see whose jurisdiction that actually is. We're sort of hoping that it's IDOT's jurisdiction. If not, we'll do our part. We'll have the department, we'll team up with the department to do its part for its mainline bridge so that all the work is done at the same time. From a highlight standpoint, we have a number of subdivisions that were built in the early 2000s. They're getting to be 20 years old, and we're continuing work in those out by the theater. We resurfaced the industrial park off the Service Drive, West Service Drive, Turret Raleigh, Shepherd area in the early 2000s. Again, those are getting to be 20 years old. Those need some help. Lilac and Amber Drive off of just north of Harlem Road. Those were rebuilt by special assessments that were done by then the Rock River Water Reclamation District. Again, hard for me to believe those are 20 years old. We think we're going to have in total about 5 miles of roadway. We'll have some alternates this year as well. I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll actually be able to get some alternates in this year's program. Hopefully, that prices continue to stay where they are. If so, then I think we're going to be able to incorporate a number of alternates. From a timing standpoint, again, we're trying to do these mid to late summer, get the restoration down in the fall, and be done. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Dopkins? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion is passed. Next is reports. Does any committee member have any reports? Seeing none, anybody in the audience would like to speak to the committee? Seeing none, may I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I have a first by Mrs. Bailey, a second by Mr. Schmidt. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is passed. We're adjourned.